Almost a year ago, I saw a YouTube ad that angered me in a way that I can't really explain. This video was an advertisement for a mobile web browser called Cake. However, out of this anger came inspiration to make a video, and since 2019 I've been promising it at any time that I could. However, when I first tried to make the video, I was bad at making videos, so I ended up making the full video, and then scrapping it because the script was bad. But now, my dreams have finally come to fruition, and I finally get an opportunity to complain about the Cake browser for attention on the internet. The Cake browser is a mobile-based web browser that was developed by the 2016 Utah-based tech startup Cake Technologies, a group of madmen with a vendetta against hyperlinks and an abundance of spare time. Let's go to their website to see what they have to say about Cake. Oh. Let's try Chrome. Thank you, Cake browser. Try Edge. Wow. Huh. Guess not. So, when I originally wrote this video about a year ago, I had simplified my problem with this app down to 3 main things I was going to talk about, those being the misleading and annoying marketing, the lack of innovation, and the fact that it's just not necessary. However, there's so many more issues than I originally saw, and I think a better way to divide my points now would be into 3 different sections. I'll still talk about the ads and the lack of innovation, but I want to talk about the bad user experience instead of how it's unnecessary. So the Cake advertising team decided that it would get people to use their browser if they got a popular actor to read out the stuff in their ad, which is a strategy that can work. If somebody you recognize is advertising a product, you'll probably be slightly more likely to buy it. However, they seem to not understand that that's why it works, because they hired a comedian who almost nobody has ever heard of, and then just pretended she was famous. That isn't to say that nobody would recognize her. She's miraculously gotten decent views on some of her stand-up comedy with jokes like, well...
I also like Instagram because I can meet someone new and then instantly learn all about their life. Okay, I can see who their friends are. Where do they like to go out to eat? Do they have a dog? What do they wear to the beach? There is something I don't want to see on your Instagram, and that is a paragraph about your mental illness. I'll see the photos. I'll put it together myself. Yeah.
Don't show me a paragraph on mental illnesses. I see your pictures, I'll figure it out. It was funny but deep, lol. Yeah, totally was. Damn, I'm gonna be up all night thinking about that joke. Right? Seriously. Laughing emoji. Slanted, laughing slightly harder emoji. But she's nowhere near the level of fame where people would be more willing to download a product because they recognize her. Now you may be thinking, 1, this isn't a microphone, and 2, that's not important because ads can still succeed without the backing of a famous person. And that's true, but for an ad to succeed without the backing of a famous person, that requires that the ad either be good or that the product be good. But instead of doing either of those 2 things, they decided to make an overly long and overly patronizing ad that describes the features of the app in a condescending way. Here are some examples of them not doing either of those 2 things that make an advertisement good.
That is like me trying to put on my mascara with a toilet brush. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. No, you didn't. That's why I'm here to tell you these things. Because swiping through results is fundamentally way better than looking at some boring list. It's kind of like a bunch of dudes all racing to get to my house to be the first one to watch me eat ice cream. It's kind of hot if you think about it. Some fancy tech thing called index suppression. Only Cake has it, and yes, it's patent pending.
It's a patent pending thing that only this browser has.
I don't think I need to explain why that was a nightmare of an advertisement, but you may be thinking that I cherry-picked the worst ad. That's kind of accurate, but I mainly picked this ad because it's the one I saw when I first learned about the Cake browser. It's the one with the most views, and it has the most points for me to talk about. But here's some clips of the other ads also being terrible, just for fun, okay? Yeah.
No more back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between your search result links and web pages.
You can even customize your searches by reordering your favorite services.
Swipe through your favorite web content like it's 2019.
You may have noticed by now that I haven't talked about the actual app yet. And so the pain begins. I've just made the worst mistake of my life with the... I'm not exactly sure where to even start with my complaints on this browser, but the lack of innovation seems like the most obvious place where they're lacking since it's one of their most advertised points. Specifically, they make 3 main claims on what they're innovating. Those being the way you swipe between web pages instead of seeing a list, their use of page compete, and the most frustrating of all, some fancy tech thing called index suppression. It's patent pending. First, the swiping thing. I'm going to talk about why the swiping is bad a lot more in the section about the user experience, but for now all I have to say is that Musical.ly came first, and it also did the swiping thing, so it's not innovative. I guess Cake did innovate a bit by making you swipe horizontally instead of vertically, but despite my scrutiny, I don't think my standards are quite that low. The second thing they claim to be innovating is their use of page compete, which actually isn't that bad of a feature if you accept the swiping thing, and technically is innovative. What it does is to take the top search results and puts them on screen in order of loading time instead of strictly displaying the first web page first. So, I'll give this one a thumbs up for quality. But the third thing they brag about, oh boy! So they claim to have this thing called index suppression, which takes some of the top search results and displays them before the list of search results, which isn't really innovative. It's kind of just necessary for a swipe-based browser. But the real issue is that they don't explain what it does. So they're just bragging that they have something patented. And furthermore, index suppression is an already used term, which refers to something involving server hosting that I don't understand, so they just stole the name of some other term, and then used it. I think I've already established that I don't like apps where you swipe between things instead of seeing them on a list, considering I made an entire 5-minute video complaining about TikTok where that was pretty much my only complaint, but I didn't really explain why I hated them very well in that video. So, the reason I hate them is because they're so much slower than looking at a list and clicking on the things you want to see. That's also the reason I hated TikTok's UI, but this is even worse. See, TikTok is designed around that kind of swiping endlessly through the For You page, so when you go on TikTok, you usually aren't looking for anything specific. But with a web browser, you're almost always looking for something specific, and if your search term is something that requires a bit more research than just reading the first few pages, or if you're looking up something vague that'll take a few pages of results to find, it'll be much less efficient to swipe through every single page. There is an option to just go to the list if you need to, but the odd presents it as a last resort rather than the place you'll go for like a fourth of your searches, like it actually is. There are a few other issues as well, like how if you scroll into a website that hasn't loaded, it brings up a blank page that you can't scroll back from until the page loads, or how the default search engine is Bing for some reason, or how it asks you to join Cake Premium every time you open the app or go into settings. But none of that even matters when the main premise of the app is as irredeemably bad as it is. So basically, the cake browser is an unnecessary waste of time that decided to annoy 50 million people with their badly made advertisements because they... Actually, I don't know why they did that. I can't imagine this being extremely profitable, nor can I imagine anyone tech-savvy enough to program an app thinking this is good. There's something going on here. Oh no! Cake Technologies is actually a cult being mind-controlled by the god of weddings! Forced to make everything in their lives into cake. Remember the everything is cake meme? That was their doing too. Remember carrot cake existing? It's all them! Everything! They're the ones pulling the strings! Controlling us like puppets just to suit their cake-making agenda. Disgusting.
Alright. So you can see that it accepted it and the music stopped.